everyone, Onita here, and my god, is time flying fast. We are already in March, and I feel like a lot has happened, yet nothing has happened. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah, we've had pretty good reading months so far, and I'm gonna hopefully continue on with that. So, I have around 5 books, but I can push it to around 6. I have 5 that I definitely know I want to read. I could read more, I could read less. I do have a really big book on this one, and it's like around 900 pages. So I'm not going to push myself too much to like read 6. To read that one extra book. I'm not gonna do that to myself because that's when we get slumpy, people. I like to say, get the big ones out of the way first. And the first big book I have is Dragonfly and Ember by Gabaldon. It is the second book in the Outlander series. Like, this is not a new book, it's been out for quite some time. But people usually do like a reread of a series before they continue on into the rest of the series, but I'm actually quite impressed at how much I remember from Outlander when I read it. Like, when was it? 3 years ago? Yeah, just say around 3 years ago, and I still remember quite a bit about it, which is a testament to how good that book is. So it follows Claire. Oh my god, I nearly forgot her name. So it follows Claire. She is a modern day woman in like 1940s or something like that, and she ends up traveling. No, sorry, before she goes to the traveling part, she's on her second honeymoon with her husband Frank, I believe his name is. Yes, it is Frank. They have their second honeymoon in Scotland, and I say second honeymoon because they were in World War II. They were involved in it. I think she was the nurse, and I think he was in it too. Maybe I should have reread the first one. But I think he's a bit more of a historian, actually. And in their second honeymoon, they were in Scotland, and she travels to a place called Craignadoon, where there's these standing stones. And yeah, just these standing stones. And she places her hand on a stone, and she transports back to 18th century Scotland, where she meets the ever handsome Jamie Fraser. And the amount of times I kept saying Jamie Lannister instead of Jamie Fraser is quite funny, to be honest. It's a historical fiction romance. A lot of people say it's a bit sci-fi because of the time travel aspect of it. You could say it is, but it is largely historical fiction romance. Or romance historical fiction, however you want to say it. And I just love this book so much. I gave the first one 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm just really excited to get back into the second series. Not second series, there is a second series following a character, quite an important character actually. And I'm just really excited to get back into the second one. And the next, is this the bigger one? I've come to notice something. I have a lot of big books on my bookshelves. I don't know what it is about them, but I just can't help but love the big books, like the 300 plus pages, the 1000-page epic fantasies and stuff like that. Yeah, this one is probably the second largest, around just under 500 pages. That is A Dance with Dragons Part 2, After the Feast by George R.R. Martin. This will be the last book in the series for now. Hopefully we might get it late next year. Sorry, not late next year, late this year. Early next year, probably even next year in general. Did I say this was the 5th one? It's the 5th book. The edition I have of The Song of Ice and Fire, the biggest ones, I think book 3 and 5 are split up, so it makes it a bit more manageable. And yeah, it continues on from the part 1 of book 5. I don't want to say too much about it. I think we're going to, because this one follows the people in like the north area, so like Stannis Baratheon, Jon Snow, Do we get Tyrion in this one? Yes, we get Tyrion as well. It just follows them while events are happening in Feast for Crows, which is the 4th one. This would make the last book in the reread that I'm doing for it. Hoping to refresh my mind because it's been like 3, 4, probably 5 years since I've read these books. I'm loving my reread and I'm curious to see if this is also going to be one of my favorites, because I know part 1 to book number 5 was, and when I read it back in January. It's currently raining at the moment, so if I look a little bit dark, I actually don't think I do, but if it looks a little bit dark and if you hear some noise in the background, 1, it's probably my parents talking out there, but 2, it's probably the rain. It's been raining for like months, basically on and off. It's been lovely, don't get me wrong, but I miss the sunshine. I'm a summer baby. I was born in January. I love the sun, even though I wouldn't about the heat. We have a poetry collection, something small, something you can fly through just to break up the bigger books I have. And that is Pillow Thoughts by Courtney Pippa. Yeah, Courtney Pippa. I actually kind of started reading this book. They were like I love it how it has, like, if you're sad, read this. Like, read not chapters, like read pages this to this. And I just really loved that. And I really needed it this month. And so I just read little bits and pieces, but I'm actually going to properly read it this time. In a similar vein to Rupi Kaur, I'm probably saying her name wrong. I just love it how some poetry books have things that are broken down into like segments, like things that you can read if you're feeling a particular thing. I love that. Yeah, it just says back here, because I never know what to say when it comes to poetry. So I'll just read the back. And it's a collection of poetry and prose about heartbreak, love, and raw emotions. It is divided into sections to read when you feel you need the most. Make a cup of tea and let yourself feel. And I have been following this author, this poetry author, for a while. And I've been meaning to get it for a while. And I have it now. And I'm going to be reading it in March. I'm going to start a new series, and that's the Witcher series. The first one is actually a collection of short stories. I think it's, well, obviously short stories, like I said. I think it's to do with getting acquainted with the characters, like a background, like a prequel is what I'm trying to say. And the first one is The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. Geralt of Rivia, he's a witcher, and he uses his legendary power and lifelong training. Yeah, so it says that it even says here that it's introducing the Witcher. And Geralt of Rivia, the Witcher, uses his legendary power and lifelong training to protect the innocent by hunting the vile fiends that ravage the land. But not all monsters are evil, and not everything fair is good. And it's technically the first book, even though I think the first book in the actual overall series, where the series really starts off, is Blood of Elves, if I'm getting it correct. And Blood of Elves is the first one. And I'm just really curious to read it. I was actually going to get this on ebook, but I didn't like the format it was in and I couldn't really read it properly. So I ended up getting this one. Oh, duh, I got this one. I actually got the whole box set of it. And yes, I really enjoyed the show. And again, another book to break up the fantasy books I'm going to be reading. That one is The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pippa Williams. Yeah, what a guess, Pip Williams. And this is a historical fiction. It follows a young woman. I don't remember what age it is set in, but it follows a young woman and she is helping to make or create the dictionary. And as she's helping with the formation or the creation of the dictionary, she finds a word. I think it's bedmaiden, something like that. Anyway, it has to do with her finding this little parchment with a word written on it, and the word is specifically about women, and she ends up keeping it for herself. And she ends up finding these other collections of little parchments with words written on them that relate to women. And it's basically about how women have been silenced, basically, through not having these words that relate to women not be in the dictionary. And I wanted to read it last year. I think it was it released last year? I'm thinking it was last year. It could even be 2019. Let me have a look. Yeah, last year. And that's actually a pretty short one. And it's basically that more words, so that the words that aren't relatable to a woman are seen as less important. And I was just like, ooh, yes, I love something like that. And I just love the idea of it. These are the 5 books that I'm going to be reading, as well as Dictionary of Lost Words and A Dragonfly and Ember. Those last 2 books I just mentioned, I will be reading through ebooks. Knowing that Dragonfly and Ember, not Ember, Ember is a bigger book. I've noticed that I can read books quite quickly through ebooks, and if I get a chance, I do have another few books in mind that I could read. I could continue on with the Witcher series and read the second short story collections, which would be Sword of Destiny, or I could just read something from my physical TBR. I have quite a bit. I don't want to say the number because I don't know. More than 10, definitely. I could continue on with those, but then again, I could just read the 5 books that I have that I want to read. So only time will tell. Okay, so that's about it for this video. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with the books I'm going to be reading. I'm quite excited. There's quite a bit of fantasy on here. And as we all know, I love fantasy. So again, like, you could say that this TBR is a little bit flexible too, because I definitely have 5 I want to read, but I could also read a little bit extra. I'm giving myself that extra little leeway if I want to read more. So, as I've said, I think I've said, but if not, I'll say it again. That if you liked it, make sure to leave a like. If you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And let me know what books you're going to be reading in the month of March. And let me know what you thought about the books that I've mentioned that you've read, and what your favorite was, or what you're excited for me to talk about in the March wrap-up, and what you think I would like. And that'll just about do it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!